Let's look at how we create a new VisualPlate project and manipulate the boundary of our plate. I'm going to start off with a rectangular shape, so I'm going to click on this button from the main screen. And when we do that, we see we've got a rectangular shape drawn. Currently, it's a 60-inch square rectangle. I'm going to change the dimensions and make it a bit wider, so I'm going to make it 120 inches or 10 feet wide by 5 feet tall. So now I've changed its size. Standard shapes like rectangles, circles, and polygons are shapes that can be moved and manipulated by simply dragging the column lines that we're seeing here. So I can move it around by dragging those column lines. If I try to change one of its vertices, these green dots, it won't change the shape. It will just move the whole unit. So if I move this to minus 60 inches, you'll see we just shift it over. So the standard shapes like rectangles will retain their shape and can't be broken up. I'm going to now look at drawing another type of shape, which is an arbitrary boundary. So if I click on Draw Arbitrary Boundary from the Boundary and Support ribbon up here, my cursor is going to change and it's shown with a pencil. And if I drag my mouse, I can simply click and sketch a shape. And then I'll close it off by clicking where I started. And so now you see we have a shape that's not standard, but more or less an arbitrary shape. I'll hit the escape key and I'm back to just the selection mode and not drawing anything. If I click on one of the nodes of this shape and move it by moving the column line, you'll see we're moving that vertice all by itself. So we're basically affecting this shape. Furthermore, if I click on one of these vertices to select it and hit the delete key, it removes that vertice. So I can make my shape different by removing vertices. We have an undo redo button here at the top of the screen. If I click on undo, notice we get that back. So undo and redo is very typical of a lot of operations in VisualPlate. You can go back to where you started if you don't want to make that change. Another thing I can do with shapes is to merge them together. If I click on the first shape, hold on my control key to click on the second, I can then right mouse button and I'll have an object to merge boundaries. So I'll select that, and now I've connected these together as a single shape. Now that I've done that, I can stretch and move that original rectangle because it's really not a standard rectangle any longer. Another thing I can do with boundaries is I can place holes in them. So if I go back to Draw Arbitrary Boundary Hole and select that and now drag or draw a shape inside, we'll see we have a shape drawn inside our original shape. When I select it, we can go over to the inspector and notice under the Modify tab, we have a choice to make it a hole, and I'm going to choose Yes. And now I've created a hole inside my shape. Why would I not want that to be a hole? Well, let's suppose this was a thicker part of the overall shape. So when I select it, I could actually change its thickness from the default, which was 12 inches. I could make this, say, 6 inches. And now I have a thicker shape there, whereas the rest of the boundary, when I select it, notice is 12 inches thick. So that's a way then to make thicker parts inside of other parts.